Welcome, everybody. This is episode 18 of the Electric B2B show. What's up, Zoli?
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Hey, the Olympics are just starting. Tell me, what's your favorite sport? Although I have a guess.
Yeah, I have to say Olympic weightlifting is something.
Yeah, I knew it. Anybody in the audience who is into weightlifting?
Everyone, definitely.
I'd
They
be
especially
surprised.
know what it is, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you even know what Olympic weightlifting is, then that's already like you get extra points for that. Okay. So wait, tell us just in a few words, because it has a lot to do with our topic today. What goes on in Olympic weightlifting? What's it about?
Okay, so basically there are two movements of Olympic weightlifting, two main movements. One is called the snatch and the other one is called the clean and jerk. And it basically is how you lift the weight from the ground on top of your head or over your head, sort of, not top of your head. And you have 6 attempts, 3 attempts in both of the
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get 6 tries.
Yeah, sort of 3 tries in each movement.
Okay. So everybody picks their weight and then everybody goes and attempts up to 6 times.
Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah.
And then the guy who lifts the biggest weight, or the gal, because girls do it too, right?
Yeah.
They win.
Yeah. So usually you have either a total and then each of the movements will have a winner as well. But on the Olympics, you just have a total.
You may be wondering, why are we talking about Olympic weightlifting, which is one of the most boring sports in the world? Sorry about this, Zoli.
That's all right. I'm used to that.
Yeah. I know you're going to get back at me for this. But anyway, so I have to compliment you on your T-shirt, by the way, because it's almost the same color as mine. And we have to tell everyone on the show that this was not intentional. So
yeah, not pre-planned to have a match.
Totally not pre-planned, but we have almost matching shirts. Yeah. Anyway, so the world of sports has a lot to do with the world of business, because what goes on in most markets, you have people doing almost identical things, almost identical motions and movements and strategies and tips to get to the top of the podium, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what we want to focus on today is approximately the 1% of companies who are doing something totally different, who are choosing not to take part in the same race, in the same competition, but they're choosing to select a different market. They have a completely different take on the problem. So what they do is they create a category of their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Where there is nobody else who is a competitor, or nearly no one who's a competitor. By the way, Zoli, what we're going to talk about today is written down in 2 excellent books. This one is the more recent one, written about 5 years ago. It's called Play Bigger. And it was written by 3 gentlemen who are still very active today. And the other book I wanted to highlight is this baby. It's called The Blue Ocean Strategy. It was written in 2004. And it is just awesome. Both books are awesome. A must for anybody who is in marketing, and especially business to business marketing. And they're just great reads, okay? So much of what we're talking about today, we didn't come up with these things, okay? We came up with very little of the strategies which we use anyway. Somebody once said that since Aristotle and Plato, nothing new has been ever said.
Okay. They usually say the same thing about music as well.
Yeah, they say that about music as well. Like the last piece of original music was probably written when? I don't know, like 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And everything is a variation of that ever since. But these 2 are original pieces of thinking. They also build on other authors, such as Positioning, a book written in the 80s by Al Ries and Jack Trout, a great and a very short and a very worthwhile read. And but anyway, so these 2 books are huge favorites. So what are we talking about in terms of creating categories and positioning? We're talking about setting yourself apart by creating a category. And once you have created a category of your own, and we're going to talk about what a category actually is and how to create one, but the aim is not to be competing head on with the rest of the marketplace, but basically having a different take on the problem of the customer and creating a solution for that. So if it happens, if you create a category of your own, you will, number one, have a community, have a more devoted group of followers, And number two, you will not be competing on features, which is a lot of times a zero-sum game in the end, because in the end, features tend to cancel each other out, or the competition on features tends to like equal itself out in most markets. And you cannot have a sustainable advantage if you base your entire competition strategy on product features and service features, okay? Because they can easily be copied and replicated. All right. Do we have an example about this, Zoli?
Yeah, but just before we jump to the examples, I meant to say that creating something new or defining yourself in a different way does not mean in any sense that you have to be a genius or that you have to be an inventor.
That's important.
Because I think it can sound like that. So it doesn't mean that you have to sit down and spend days on end on trying to come up with something amazingly new, something that never has been done before. What it really means, I think, is just that you have to understand your consumers, your customers better. So you have to understand their needs down to the very last bit of it, because that will mean that you can sort of get to approach the same issues or the same problems that they have from a different aspect, from a different point of view, your own point of view, really. So it just means that you have to find a niche in the same category, and by that you are actually creating a new category.
Exactly. And you've heard it being said a gazillion times, and we're going to be the gazillion first to tell you that whoever knows their customers the deepest and the most, and whoever can resonate with the customer the most wins. Okay, but the how to, so you don't automatically win by knowing your customers, obviously. Knowing your customers the best, better than any of your competitors, or just a subset of your customers. So you don't have to be thinking about the entire market, just a very lucrative segment. And if you're able to meet their needs very specifically and be able to communicate that in the right way, now that's where category creation and category design and creating a blue ocean comes in the picture.
Yeah, so basically the better you know their problems, the better chances that you're going to find a small part of that problem that hasn't been specifically solved.
Exactly.
Maybe in the bigger picture it is solved, but down to a specific issue it hasn't been solved before.
Yeah. And we're almost jumping like straight into the process of creating a category, because it's not as straightforward as just finding this unique thing and then starting to talk about that. It's a bit more complex, although it's very simple to follow. So it's not complicated at all. Okay, do we have any examples? Zoli, what comes to mind? B2B software company who created a category and won major, big time.
Okay, so one thing that comes to my mind is HubSpot, definitely. When instead of trying to win the race in the section of pull and push marketing, they just basically rephrased the whole thing and renamed it to inbound marketing. And by creating this new term, and then obviously pointing out the differences of this new thinking, they managed to create their whole new category and didn't have to compete with everyone else on the push and pull marketing strategies or marketing strategies.
Exactly. Yeah. So HubSpot is in the marketing automation game. Yeah. And rather than starting to compete on features and the speed and whatnot, what they focus their communication on is creating this category called inbound marketing, which, by the way, was not new at all.
No.
Because if you went to business school as long time ago as I did, somewhere back in the Middle Ages, then you had to learn from the book of Philip Kotler, where he coined the terms pull marketing and push marketing back in pre-digital days. But basically inbound, the name they came up with, is almost identical to the concept of pull marketing. Okay, and what we call outbound marketing today was actually being called push marketing, like back ever since the 70s or 80s. Yeah, so they took this term inbound and made it their own. And what they did was they promoted this category. So what do? They had conferences, they had a bunch of content, and they just created this whole movement called inbound marketing and got everybody to follow them on this.
Yes, they spent a lot on getting this new term into the heads of everyone and on getting this new category, a well-known something, instead of trying to compete on the same traditional marketing terms.
Exactly. Yeah. So HubSpot really did a great job at that. Who else do we have?
Salesforce, I think, is another obvious choice
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
can. So instead
Yeah.
of competing on the CRM field, they created a new category, which then they endorsed as well, just as HubSpot did, which was no software.
Exactly. So yeah, I just looked this up, that Salesforce was the one to coin the phrase SaaS, software as a service. And rather than competing on its CRM's features, what they did was created this campaign called No Software. So they totally, completely redefined the problem. And they said, okay, a CRM system, getting a CRM system is not your major problem. It shouldn't be your major goal. It should be to have a system where you, as the sales leader and the marketing leader, are in charge, and you're not dependent on these big and ugly software companies who charge you enormous upfront fees, or the IT department who, is just a bottleneck in the whole CRM implementation process. And get rid of IT and get rid of software. You don't need software. You don't need IT people. What you need is software as a service. And
just rephrasing the category, just rephrasing what you are selling or what you're offering helps a lot. If you think back to when Ford came up with the automobile, with the first version of an automobile.
Exactly.
He just named it the no horse carriage or a motor carriage, which obviously, instead of saying it's a better horse carriage or it's faster than horses are, he basically said, he immediately coined the term no horse or motor carriage, which then meant that the customers understood what it was and understood what it isn't, or it wasn't actually back in the time. So they could immediately differentiate, but then know that it's something new.
Exactly. And Ford is such a perfect example because it's like the archetype of doing market research the right way. And, Ford, there's a term that is, or a famous phrase that he said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
And so he was well aware of the fact that, people wanted to commute faster. And then it's the job of a great product designer to come up with the solution to the problem and not take the exact, articulated and phrased requirement of the market. Yeah. So not asking, what do you want? And then giving that exact thing to them, but figure out what result they want, the end result which they want, and then find the best way by perhaps crossing lines and thinking out of the box, or even getting rid of the box and coming up with something totally new to get to that solution. So people wanted to commute faster, so he didn't create faster carriages and faster horses and faster, I don't know, he could have probably, given ecstasy tablets to horses, and that would have made horses faster and commuting faster. But no, he created the automobile.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to talk about later today in detail is the language part of the whole thing, using language to your own purposes. Just naming no software. It's basically the same idea that other companies had back then, but instead of saying that it's a better CRM, instead of saying that it's a better carriage, they just said it's a no software solution. Henry Ford said it's a no horse carriage. So it's just smart how they language.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, so languaging is super important when you're creating a category. And now we've come to the point in the show where we're not going to be coming up with examples anymore, but we're going to go step by step into how to create your own category. And we are going to bring you examples, because first we're going to bring our own example of Clear, how we are creating a category and what we're like smack in the middle of it. And we're going to also take the example of one of our clients who are towards the end of successfully creating their category and are about to launch it. Okay, so this should be super fun and insightful. And I want to tell you that right now we're at the point in the show where we're going to go through the entire process so that you can learn it. And we're going to do this through examples. So the first example is going to be our example, how Clear as an agency / consultancy is creating a different category, and we're like smack in the middle of it, so we don't have the whole thing worked out, but at least we're on the right road. And then we're going to look at the example of one of our clients whom we are helping create their own category, and they're towards the end because they've defined everything and they're just ready to launch the thing and communicate the category and then and expand it. Okay, so Zoli, can you just quickly walk us through the process?
Yeah, so basically through what we had talked about and all of the examples, we pretty much touched up on every step of the process. But just as a quick recap, the 4 steps of the process is, one is customer research. So as we talked about at the beginning, what you want to do is you want to go really deep into their problems, really understand them, really understand on a daily basis really what they are facing, because that is the easiest way to come up with a new solution or just a new approach to the same solution that may be more specific. The second thing is reframe an existing problem, which is, again, if they have a problem that you know about, if they can communicate that problem, and if you can understand it in a deep enough way that you can rephrase the solution to that problem, that then you can create a new category.
Exactly. And I would add to that even rephrasing the problem, because a lot of times the way you create a category is that you have an entirely different take on what the customer's problem actually is. So what you're communicating is that, hey, you think you need a toothbrush, but you don't actually need a toothbrush because that's not your problem. Your problem is, I don't know, something else.
So like...
And then that's how you lead them to your solution. So you reframe the entire problem in their mind.
Yeah, so just to stay at your example, if you want to clean your teeth, if you want a clean mouth, one thing that you can do is obviously use a toothbrush. But after a while or at some point, you have to do flossing as well, which not a lot of people love to do. But it's sort of rephrasing the problem, because the problem is still that you have to clean your mouth, but now you have to clean the different small spaces between your teeth that you really reach with a toothbrush. That is not gonna clean it. I know a lot of people are not happy to hear this, but you definitely need to.
I'm certainly not, but it's true. It's rephrasing that problem and it's creating a new category of flossing. Awesome example.
Then languaging is when you create your own lingo. You come up with new terms or new phrases. A good example, I think, is growth marketing, which obviously entails new techniques as well. So it's not the same thing that they did before, but basically they came up with a new term to define something that may have already happened in other companies, or some companies may have been doing it for a while at the time, but they haven't really had an actual term for it. They haven't really had a methodology for it that you can easily follow. And then the fourth step is to promote this category. So you don't want to promote the actual product. You like back to the example of Salesforce, they didn't promote the actual product that they came up with, but they promoted was the category, which was no software. So that's what they spent a lot of money on. And again, with HubSpot, they didn't promote their CRM tool. What they promoted instead was inbound marketing. So the new terminology is what they put the emphasis on.
And a really important point here, and it's counterintuitive to so many companies, is that when you create the category, so you have your own language, and then you start to push the category and not your product, you start to promote the category. What you actually want to do is to have competitors follow you and copy you. Because actually, I know we're talking about a blue ocean where like you're the only solution to that given problem, but actually when you're talking about category creation, there's no category of one. So you want to actually make noise, and you can't make big enough noise when you're in just a category of one. You actually want to populate the category, and you want people to follow you. You want competitors to follow you. You want competitors to actually steal your lingo and use your language. And the idea is that you're going to be the first one there, and you're going to have such a big head start on this that you're going to be the category king for a very, very, very long time. Okay, so the same thing with floss. So it wouldn't have become a thing if there was only one company promoting it. What they had to do was they had to get like half the dentists in the world to start promote flossing. And then they had to have other manufacturers come and create dental floss. Same with software. So you wanted to have agencies and competitors and other MarTech vendors use the term inbound. If you were HubSpot, you wanted them to use this term so that it became a thing, so that they could create a conference where 10,000 people show up.
Yeah.
Same with SaaS. So Salesforce wanted people to use this term SaaS. They didn't want to be the only ones using the term because obviously it can't be a global thing. So you want the market to follow you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that was the thing. So let's go through what we're doing at Clear, and then maybe we can help people understand our example this way. And by the way, if you're wanting to do this and you're sitting here thinking, hey, my B2B company's got to do this, as I said, it's a simple process in the sense that there are 4 steps which you have to go through, but it can get difficult within the steps. So it's easy but not simple, or simple but not easy. Okay, and if you want help on this, and if you want a conversation on this, then reach out to the guy in glasses right next to me, wearing also a navy blue shirt, Zoli, or reach out to me through Clear or on LinkedIn or wherever, and then we can just hop on a call and talk about how to do this for you, okay?
Yeah, so again, with Clear, we are basically doing the same thing. We are corresponding to the same 4 steps that we just talked about. The first thing that we did is research. So what we do is, and we still do, so it's not what we did, it's what we are doing ongoingly, is that we talk to our customers, we talk to our clients or potential clients really, and we try to understand their daily issues. If we look at our field or our industry, which is B2B marketing, it really is a red ocean. It's not at all a blue ocean.
Yeah, both agencies and consultancies.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we did and what we are doing is we are understanding what the issues are with our clients, what they are facing, and we try to understand that with the solutions that they find, what it is that they feel like they are lacking with them. Which is one point of that is that they go to consultancies and they go to agencies, but they can't really find a place where they get both of these deals at the same time. So first, what we do is we do the research. Then what we do is we validate what we found. So we started to publish these posts, these electric B2B shows, and then obviously blog posts that we've written from it.
Exactly. And then we saw this thing or this trend emerge where prospects and customers were telling us that actually agencies weren't really meeting their needs in the long run because of the way agencies are wired and their business model. It's not always a good fit for companies as their marketing matures and further down the road. And so what we found was that they actually need somebody who's a growth partner, right? And so that's what we found, that the agency model in B2B is broken. So is the consulting model. What they need is a mix of the two and something more, which will help companies actually build and scale their marketing teams. And that's what we want to be a partner for. So this is what emerged of the conversations and the quote unquote research, which wasn't really research, it's just talking to people and listening, which is actually technically research, but I don't want to get into that. Okay, so what's step number 2? It's reframing the existing problem.
Yeah, so what you said is basically the research part. Then you also touched upon the reframe part. So reframing that they don't just need a consultancy or an agency, but they need something that is the mixture of the two, and that there is something even more than that, sort of a growth organization. But we obviously had to validate it. So what we had to do is publish these ideas.
Because this is all like a nice idea, a convenient idea, but you got to validate it that other people resonate with it too.
Yeah, so it's one thing to understand what they supposedly need. It's another thing to then validate it if they really actually need it. And a good way of doing that is just creating content around it. It's exactly what you started to do, and what we are doing is creating episodes on it, podcast episodes on it, and then blog posts on it, and then we see how they react to it. And the reactions have been really good so far. So that is the validation part.
And the good thing, like it has like a community synergy, although that sounds like a hypey term, but when you actually post about this, on social media, and we were kind of open about it, and so it was like a work in progress. And so a couple of the posts that we shared on this read something like, okay, what we're seeing now is this, and what we think the solution is this. And we specifically said that we don't pretend to have this completely figured out, but we're curious about your thoughts.
Yeah.
And then the comments and the feedback was very convincing. It totally validated, and it also added to what we said. So other people pitched in, and we did use the ideas that they came up with and that they shared below these posts. So that was just textbook perfect validation.
Yeah, that is why you definitely want to talk about it. Is that you're gonna get the sort of feedback, the sort of commentary on it that's gonna actually help you as well. So it's not just that, okay, it's a great thing that I know about it, but then you can use those comments, you can use those new feedbacks to build up on the same idea and to
exactly. Because a lot of companies at this stage, they're like, ooh, we don't want to tell anyone. They're going to steal our ideas, and then they'll be first to do it. And then what's going to be left for us? And why aren't we worried about that, Zoli?
Well, basically because, one thing is, I don't think you have to be the first one, you have to be the best one. So it doesn't really matter if you're the first one who comes out with an idea. I'm pretty sure that one of the books that you just talked about today, the three writers of the book, they didn't come up with the ideas. Some of them obviously they came up with, but they already had books before them that talked about the same ideas. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is, are they the ones that grab attention? Are they the ones that can have the authority, who can have the leading spot in this?
Yeah. And the other reason we're not worried about this is that the value of the feedback and the validation which we get is just so much more valuable. The value is so much higher than the threat of somebody like jumping on what we're doing and then being faster and better to execute it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just makes so much more sense. So,
and then also, if it's that easy to copy, you're probably not giving any value. So you shouldn't be afraid about it.
True. And it's like, ideas are all over the place. So you're probably coming across other people's like genuine ideas who are also trying to validate it and share it. And it's not like you have a business going in one direction and then you see an idea and bam, you pop on it and then you steal. It does happen from time to time, but the risk of that happening is just so much lower than the value you can get by sharing.
And then also, not sharing creates a bigger value, because by the time you end up sharing it, maybe someone is way ahead of you in the same thing. So you might be trying to perfect the whole thing, and then you can't really keep up with your competitors. So.
Exactly. So are we ready to move on to languaging?
Yeah, languaging.
That's going to be a quick one for Clear.
Yeah.
Because we don't have it yet, so we're working on it. This is the stage where we are. So we're trying to like name this whole thing and put a lingo around it, so that we get to own that and take that. And once we have that, we can go to step number 4, which is promoting that category.
Yeah. So it's sort of what we are doing right now, to be honest, because we are right now talking about what we are doing.
In a way.
We just don't really have the language for it yet. We just haven't formed the exact terms for it. But yeah, you wanna start promoting it, maybe even before you come up with the actual terms. But obviously, when you come up with the term, that's the best part, because then you can sort of form that category.
Yeah. So what we're planning to do is once we have this thing figured out, obviously there's going to be a lot of content created around this. Because we want to educate the market on this way of thinking and this way of looking at things. And we're probably going to do newsletters, webinars, online summits, and whatnot. And we're going to hope that some people are going to catch on to this thinking. And then some competitors are going to start to offer similar services to ours.
Yeah.
And framed in a similar way. And that's just going to be awesome, because that means that, okay, we got people coming on, and there's going to be a category that's born.
Yeah. Okay, so let's perhaps move on to an actual example.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the case of a client. Okay, so this client essentially provides marketing growth services, but they originally started providing sales development services only. And what they found was that they are being put in the same category with telemarketers and call center agents who, you know, call and read you a script and want to book a meeting with you. And even though that's essentially what they did, they had a much more sophisticated approach. It wasn't scripted, and they were just tired of being put in the same category. So what we've been doing for the last year and a half, and we did change directions a couple of times, was that, okay, let's go step by step, because the first step was that they didn't want to be put in this same category, and they had clients whom they had talked to, and they saw the need for a more sophisticated way of doing things that integrates with enterprises' sales and marketing processes much better. Okay, because they were targeting enterprise, so like big companies. And so again, they wanted to set themselves apart from lead generation and telemarketing companies. Okay, so the reframe on their behalf was coming up with this framework called account-based growth or agile account-based growth. And they embedded their methodology into this framework, which is the whole freaking framework of taking what today in most enterprises is a lead-based sales and marketing organization to an account-based focus that has operations a lot more integrated and more seamlessly touching and gaps filled in. Okay, because just to give you a little bit of background on this, in lots of enterprises, there's like big misalignment between sales and marketing and customer success teams. And that's because they're siloed. So they created this framework called Agile Account-Based Growth. And in this framework, like everything is seamlessly aligned, and how to fill these gaps is sort of figured out and given to the client. And so that's the big framework. That's the reframing, because a lot of times, so what they're telling prospects now is that, oh, you think you just need leads and you need opportunities and you need like appointments booked. Well, no, because you've got this and this and this and this problem. And the reason that you have these problems is because you don't have an integrated, ta-da, account-based growth methodology. So that's the root of all of your problems, of the misalignment and the missing leads and targets and everything. What you need is this, what we have. And that's how they reframed it. And in terms of languaging, which is the third step, they came up with a bunch of terms for this that is similar enough for the market to recognize. So you don't really have to explain like total new terms, but it is different. So they're the only ones using agile account-based growth and account-based growth, and then account-based intelligence. And the third thing is account-based sales development. So everybody understands this in the target market, but it's their terminology. So it's perfect. And now we're at stage 4, which is launching this into the world. Yeah. And it's been validated in sales conversations with existing clients who were like really fast to catch on to this thinking. And in fact, much of the methodology was born out of working with clients. So they saw, you know, what needs to be done, what are the missing pieces in their methodology. So again, this is a picture perfect example.
And and just
creating a category.
Yeah, exactly. And just to refer back to one of the first points that we made today is you don't really have to come up with something completely new, because they didn't invent anything that hasn't been done before. But what they did was they reframed the issue. As you said, they sort of did what telemarketing companies do. They sort of did or sort of doing what a growth marketing team is doing, just outsourced. But they reframed the whole idea, and by that they created a new category for themselves that they can compete in.
Exactly. Hey, that's a perfect ending to this episode. That was a perfect summary of the entire process. So Zori, it was fun talking to you. I'm looking forward to doing this again next week.
Always fun.
And yeah, everybody, thanks for watching and listening, and share and like and comment and celebrate this episode. or what you will. And we will see you again. Bye-bye.
Next week. Bye-bye.